Chapter 3 is about trade. In this chapter, look for answers for why people and nations choose to trade, how trade makes us better off, what is absolute advantage and comparative advantage, how are these concepts similar and how are they different. Every day we rely on trade from all over the world. From chapter 1, one of our first principles said that trade can make everyone better off. So in this chapter, we're going to learn exactly how trade can make us better off. If you look at trade between China and the U.S., trade with China and the U.S. makes most Americans better off. It allows us to buy many goods that are assembled more cheaply in China. So if you were going to survey economists, 100% of economists would agree with this statement. We're going to look at two countries, the US and Japan, and we're going to look at two goods, computers and wheat. Our resource is labor, and we're going to measure this resource in hours. How much of both goods each country produces and consumes. So we're going to look at if the country chooses to be self-sufficient and if the country chooses to trade with the other country. Production possibilities in the U.S. The U.S. has 50,000 hours of labor available for production each month. And producing one computer requires 100 hours of labor, and producing 1 ton of wheat would require 10 hours of labor. So we're going to graph that here. So 500 computers or 5,000 tons of wheat. Connect the two lines, and we have our production possibility frontier. Suppose that the U.S. uses half its labor to produce each of the two goods. So in that case, the U.S. would consume 250 computers and 2,500 tons of wheat. So remember from the last chapter, anything on this line represents an efficient use of resources. I want you to take a look at this first active learning assignment. You're going to use the following information and you're going to draw the PPF for Japan. Your graph is going to measure computers on the horizontal axis. So without trade, the U.S. consumers get 250 computers and 2,500 tons of wheat. Japanese consumers get 120 computers and 600 tons of wheat. If you compare consumption without trade versus consumption with trade, we'll need to see how much of each good is produced and traded by each of the two countries. So consider this. Suppose the U.S. produces 3,400 tons of wheat. How many computers would the U.S. be able to produce with its remaining labor? I want you to draw the point representing this combination of computers and wheat on the U.S. PPF. Now suppose that Japan produces 240 computers. How many tons of wheat would Japan be able to produce with its remaining labor? Draw that point on Japan's PPF. And we will start with these two active learning and review in class.